What's up, you guys? I wanted to come and talk to y'all today. I hope y'all doing well. But God has put on my heart to tell you guys to do whatever it is that He told you to do. If He is convicting you to do anything in this season, it is very imperative to be obedient and just do it. Don't worry about what it look like. Don't worry about the naysayers that's in your ears that's saying no. Don't worry about them inner voices, them demonic voices that's in your ears saying no, this might happen, that might happen, what about this, what about that, what about that. Don't worry about none of what you might deem as big details or big barriers that will prevent you from getting to that next step. You might think you don't have enough, but God will make sure that you do have enough. You might think you don't have enough time. You might think whatever it is, don't worry about none of the what ifs. Don't allow the fear about what you don't have and what you need still to prevent you from taking the leap, because God will provide for you on the way. So if anything is He's telling you to do, if He's telling you to apply for a job, if He's telling you to quit a job, if He's telling you to start packing, you might be moving, like whatever it is He's telling you to do, if He's telling you to leave a relationship, if He's been convicting you and putting it on your heart that it's time to break free of whatever bondage that you might be in, whatever you've been praying to Him. One thing about it is when we pray, He hears us. And oftentimes when He's orchestrating the plan for us to solve the prayer, to answer our prayer, He sends us on certain steps. This step is not going to all just change it in one instance. He'll start to move you to do this thing, and then that'll lead to the next thing, and then that'll lead to the next thing until your prayer is answered. This is why it's very important to be obedient. And when you're getting this feeling inside, when you're getting convicted, when you have this feeling, this is why it's so important to listen to your feelings. Your feelings is your sixth sense that nobody talks about, and we don't understand the importance. That is a gift. It is a gift to be able to feel no matter what. You know how just as simple as when you're very hot, it feels good. It's a gift to have some AC, just to feel. You ain't touching the air, you're not touching the coolness, but to feel that cool air on you feels magnificent in a time when you are drenched, sweating, you're hot, you baking, you feel like you ready to die from extreme heat. It's a feeling that you feel. So that feeling that we get in the inside of us, that is your discernment. And that's why it's so important to pray every day, every morning, every night, midday, whenever you talk to God, when you pray to God. It is so important to ask for discernment, because that is the greatest gift that God will ever give us. That is a gift. Our intuition, that's our feelings. That's how when we learn to listen to our intuition, that's having true discernment. That is how you increase your discernment. Let's see what discernment is. Let's look at the definition of discernment. Because it says discernment, the ability to judge well. And then the second definition says perception in the absence of judgment with the view to obtaining spiritual guidance and understanding. Okay? Perception in the absence of judgment with the view to obtaining spiritual guidance and understanding. That is God. That's what I'm saying. When you want to learn how to listen to God, how to follow God, it is very important to tap into your feelings, to tap into who you really are, that spirit within you. It's really important to tap into that, learn to listen to that, learn to listen. If we listen to our intuition, which is our discernment, even with driving, you listen, you have to have discernment to get out on the road. You have to have good judgment so you know when it's your turn to go, when it's not to go, especially at like a four-way stop where there's only stop signs and there's no lights. You have to have discernment and remember, for one, what the rule is for when two cars come to an intersection at one time, who get the right way to go first. And then even still, like if the lights go out, I know y'all have seen it plenty of times where like the lights may have went out in the streets, and now everybody's using discernment on when to go so that they don't get into a car crash. It is important to use that same kind of discernment when it comes to any situation in life, anything, whether it's on taking a job offer, whether it's on taking up a relationship offer. No matter what it is important to use discernment, have that ability to judge well. And that is something that God has gifted us all with. But until you work on building your relationship with him, until you build that trusting relationship with him, where you trust him, he trusts you, until you build that relationship, it's not going to get heightened to the highest level. That is your gift. That is something that he has gifted us with. And to get it increased, to be able to judge every situation well, so that you know what's of God and what's of the enemy. I don't know if I'm gonna talk about that in this video, if I'm gonna do another video about that, because I really want to talk about this. Knowing the voices that's in your head that's telling you, because we all are constantly battling against spiritual wickedness. We're all in warfare on a daily basis, and this is why it's so important to stay prayed up with God, build your relationship with God, stay connected, know what's of God, know what's his likeness, what's not of God, what's totally something that you know that puts you off your narrow path that he has for you. In that instance, that's how you battle what's coming from God and what's coming from the devil. And when you heighten your discernment, this is going to teach you that. This is going to teach you that. And you don't have to have so much confusion about, oh, what am I going to do? Should I do this? Should I do that? I have a feeling that God told me to start packing, or I had a feeling that God told me to quit my job. But then the devil in your ear, like, no, you know, you got bills coming up. You know, you got this, you know. And because we operate a lot off of our flesh, which is of the devil, operating off of fleshly things, your fleshly desires, that's demonic. That's of the devil. He don't want us to operate off of this. He wants us to operate off our internal feelings, off of the spirit that's within us, off of that water that's in us. He wants us to operate off of that, not off of our flesh. So when we do that, we'll be hearing, because the devil is constantly in a position where he wants to go against God. Anything to get you off of your narrow path, so that you can please the world, or please, because God, the enemy, the devil, he's of the world. He loves, this is why vanity, this is why things that make you look good on the outside, that's anything that's solely focused on that, that's how you know it's demonic. Because God don't want us worried about these fleshly things that you can only see. He wants us to work on the things that we can feel. He want us to truly feel. He want us to feel good. He want us to feel whole without using worldly things to make us do that. This is why it's important to operate off of your feelings of things that will make you feel good spiritually, that will cleanse you, that's wholesome, that will make you feel more wholesome, not just things that are worldly, that are things that just mask all the pain, instead of really helping you cleanse and filter that tainted water up out of you, to cleanse your water, to get that water in you to a healthy pH balance. He wants that for us. He don't want us to just be out here just doing things only to coat the flesh that's gonna make you look good, but in the inside you still walking around with low self-esteem, you still walking around with feelings of unworthiness, you still walking around dealing with unhealed rejection, unhealed traumas. Like, he want us to work on that. He don't want us to just be dressed up trash buckets, walking around looking good, but in the inside we feeling like trash. He want us to operate fully out of our feelings in healthy ways that's going to make us feel wholesome and be eating from the tree of life again. So it is so important to do whatever it is that God is telling you to do, because that is how you're going to get to your next level. Whatever it is that you're praying about, from the moment the prayer first come out your mouth, God heard you. We might pray 100 times, but God heard you the first time. He heard you. Just like us as parents, our kids, they keep asking us for this stuff, and it's like, we heard you. I heard you. I know what you want, but you got to wait. Like, you got to wait. God will do the same thing to us. And when he's in that process of making us wait, it's because there's certain things that need to go on in the process before you get to the grand finale. Like, it's literally, when they say it's levels to this thing, it's really levels to this thing. But the first step is listening to the inner voice within you, listening to what you know you heard God told you. So if God said, hey, it's time for you to pick up and move to a new state. Or if God said, it's time for you to leave that job because I got something better for you. I need you to come over and work for the kingdom. And 9 times out of 10, if he's telling you to leave your job, it's because he wants you to come over and work for the kingdom. He wants you to do something that's going to contribute towards his people, truly serving his people with gifts that he put inside of you. He don't want you out here slaving, being a modern day slave. That's just not what he wants for us. He don't want us being modern day slaves. He want us to work in for what our calling is, what he called us here on earth to do, he allow our soul to come into human form to do. We're not here just for no reason. We're all here on missions. So because of that, it is important when you're getting a feeling to do a certain thing, it don't matter what it is, it's to lead you to the next thing. So whatever you prayed for, it's to lead you to that thing, but you can't allow the devil to get in your head. You can't allow people to prevent you from doing those things, because they putting fears into your head, putting doubt into your head, saying, oh, you're too old to do that. You're too old to go back to school. You got too many kids to go back to school. You too this to get up on a camera and talk to them. You don't know how to properly talk. You don't have no education. Who are you to teach somebody anything? Any of those negative thoughts that hold you back, those negative people that's around you that say those things to you to prevent you from taking that leap, to prevent you from taking that first step towards building the reality that you want for yourself. If God gave you a vision, he didn't give you that vision for no reason. It's so important for you to do what you got to do every day until that vision becomes your reality. So if you got people around you that's preventing you from taking the steps that's going to lead to you making that dream a reality, that's people that are of the enemy. Those are people you don't want to be around on this season. This is the time to truly get rid of everything that is no longer serving you. It don't matter how old you are. It don't matter how young you are. Get rid of the distractions. If God puts something on your heart, it is so important that you work towards that in this season. Very important. And I was flipping to Ephesians, and I ended up at Ecclesiastes. I think that's how you say it. Ecclesiastes chapter 11. And I flipped to this part about enjoying life. So I'm gonna read it to y'all right quick because it's relevant, and it's like, I'm like, wow, what's the odds? Like, God told me to do this video, and then I'm looking for, my favorite scripture from Ephesians chapter 6 about the battle against flesh and blood. The battle is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers. It's spiritual wickedness that we're really fighting, and we all fight it. It don't matter if you're a chosen one, if you're not chosen. It don't matter if you're rich. It don't matter if you're poor. You're gonna go through spiritual warfare, because the spiritual warfare is nothing but a battle of God and the devil. It's a constant fight. This is why I don't even really want to dive too much into that into this video. But these mental illnesses and a lot of this stuff is a battle of God and the devil in your head, these voices. So it's a lot. But I wanted to read this. It says, but if a man live many years and rejoice in them all, yet let him remember the days of darkness, for there shall be many. All that cometh is vanity. Rejoice, O young man, in your youth, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth, and walk in the ways of your own heart, and in the sight of your eyes. But you know that for all these things God will bring into judgment for you. Therefore, remove sorrow from your heart and put away evil from your flesh, for childhood and youth are vanity. So this is the King James Version. I did kind of, when they be saying all that thee stuff, I just be like, you're talking, make it regular for me. So that was chapter 11, verses 7 through 10. And it's so true, because we be so worried about what's to come tomorrow, what's gonna happen today. I'm getting too old. I'm too old to go back to school. I'm too old to do this. I'm young. We be feeling like life ends for us at 30. And then when we get to 30, we realize, okay, I'm still living. And I still feel like I did yesterday. And then as we get older, it's like we constantly living in a state of mind where we think we're running out of time. So we try to do so much during our youth. We try to do so much during our youth, thinking we don't have enough time. We're running out of time. And some of us feel like we're older now, we're not young no more. So now I really am out of time to do this. It's too late for me to start a new career. It's too late for me to leave this relationship. I mean, I'm 60 years old. Who's going to want me now? I've been with this guy who's terrible to me. I've been with him for all these years. Who's going to want me now at 60? Because the enemy may have put in your head saying, you're not good enough. You're 60 years old. You washed up. What they be saying on the podcast? Like, talking about women that's over the age of 35 or over the age of 30. They leftovers. They washed up. That ain't nothing but the enemy in your ear. If God promised you, if God told you won't get a husband, if God told you to leave this toxic relationship, I got something better for you. If God told you to even be single, I got something that I'm going to do for you in your single season. If God told you any of these things, it is so important that you understand that he is not a man that shall lie, and whatever promise he made to you is surely going to come to pass in due time and on his time and not ours. He knows the plan for our life. We don't. And it's so easy for us to go off the flesh and want to do things off the flesh and let our anxiety and our fears of the unknown, it's so easy to let that stuff, and even thoughts of the past, it's so easy to allow both. Thinking about the future, worrying about the past, worrying about the things that happened in the past, because that happened to me before, that might happen again. So we moving in a state of fear throughout life. Like, especially those who battle with anxiety like me, you constantly, things that has happened before. So it's like a lot of that stuff play in the back of your head, and you're like, okay, because that happened before, this might happen again. So now I gotta overly be prepared in case that happens again. It's like it constantly puts you in a place where you're in like fight or flight mode. You're in like consistently worrying about things that might not even happen. So it's so many different aspects of fighting spiritual warfare that we face. And if you let those demonic voices, if you let those toxic thoughts, if you let that stuff really get into you and let it eat you up, it will prevent you from doing what God told you to do, to answer the prayer. All you have to do is just remember what he told you and stay focused. It's like, stay focused. It is so important to have tunnel vision in this season, especially if you're on your spiritual journey. It is important to have tunnel vision, to understand what's of God, what's not of God, and to do what he told you to do, no matter what it looks like, and no matter whoever else is trying to get in your ear about stuff, because the vision he gave you, he did not give them. The path that's for you is not for them. If they're definitely not on that same journey as you, if they ain't never tapped into nothing, if they ain't never did those things, they definitely would not understand you. And even still, sometimes because we are of the flesh, we're made of this flesh, it is easy to sometimes go off of what we think, because the fleshly, it's like worldly, worrying about like what society says, and society says this. But God moves the complete opposite of what society says. Society will tell you, no, you're going to die in a couple weeks from that illness. The doctor, the worldly people, the people of the world, they'll tell you, my such and such passed from that. When they was at stage 4, it was impossible for it to be reversed. The world, so they'll project that fear onto you. But God told you that he will get you through this. He will reverse you, go from stage 4 to it being completely in existence, for it to be completely gone, completely wiped away. He said that he will cast that disease up out of you. So if God told you that, you got to hold him to it and do what he's telling you to do. Do what he's telling you to do. If he's telling you to start taking a certain supplement, it don't matter how small or how big the assignment is. If he told you to do that, start doing it. If you're getting convicted, he told you start taking certain supplements, told you stop eating certain foods. If he told you, like, it is that little and that big. If he told you to start whatever it is he told you to do, it is important to do it. It is important to do it. It doesn't matter how young you are. It doesn't matter how old you are, because you don't know when your exit date is. Only God does. That's why it's important for while you're here to do what he's telling you to do. He's waking you up every single day because he's giving you another opportunity to answer the call on your life. Your soul was called here on a mission. It did not, none of us, no human that's walking out here that has a soul, it was not called here for no reason. It's here on a mission, and you must answer the call. You must answer it. You must do what he's telling you to do. And to do that, he sometimes have to shift things up. Oftentimes we'll pray for things and we think that it's just going to just come without us doing this and doing that. No, once you make that prayer, God will start shifting things around for you so that he can put you in position to get there. Like, you don't just get in your car from your house and then you automatically at work. You don't be like, all right, sit in my car, all right, to work I go, and then you just appear at work. No, you have to take a journey to get there. You have to go this way. You might, the way you normally might go, road might be blocked off. You might gotta take a detour, go another way. Nonetheless, you're still going to get there, but sometimes your route shifts. Sometimes you might think you had it all, everything was all good here. But no, he said, nah, you got to get up out of here. He knows something that's getting ready to happen here. He want to get you up out of here so that you can be safe for whatever happens at that place, so that you won't have to be there when that happens there, because he still has something for you. He still needs you to get to your destination. He's still trying to help you get there. Sometimes the blessing might be in another state. Sometimes the blessing might be in a new relationship. Sometimes the blessing might be in single period. Like, you don't know where the blessing gonna come from, where your prayers and how your prayers are going to get answered. That's why it's important for you to be obedient, because the thing that you think will least likely answer your prayers or be a step towards answering your prayer might be that very thing that answers the prayer, that leads to your prayer getting answered. So, everything that I'm going through in my life and have been through, it was necessary for every good and bad thing to happen. And it's just funny that it says this here, like, but if a man live many years and rejoice in them all, yet let him remember the days of darkness, for there should be many, and all that comes is vanity. Like, it is, because it's like nobody wants to face the trying times. Nobody want to face these seasons of darkness where you feel like you done lost everything. You have nothing. You worry, you fear, you feel like you're losing your house. You feel like nobody wants to feel that. Nobody wants to feel that. But it's necessary, because when you get to maybe your peak, or when you get to the next level, you be like, oh, I see why that was necessary, because that taught me this. Now I know how to move when this happened. Like, I'm gonna just say, like, just an example with where I know I'm destined to be. It was important for me to go through a lot of the issues that I went through in my life. For one, to learn boundaries. For two, to learn negotiation skills. Like, it's so many different lessons that I have learned in like 1 year of just being on my spiritual journey, and just seeing how everything had to happen the way it had to happen. All the bad stuff in my relationships. And that's the ultimate truth to it, because if I would have never went through all these things in my relationships, in life, in friendships, and all of that, I would have never found God. Because I told you guys, toxic love is what made me find God. It's like God saved me. He saved my life. I realized when I thought I had nobody, I did have somebody. I didn't know at the time, but ultimately that stuff had to happen, because if it didn't, I wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't know nothing about spirituality. I would still be worldly, still making some of the same stupid decisions, still making the same stupid mistakes, because I didn't know about discernment, not listening to my intuition. But now I know it don't matter how small it is. I don't care if I'm at the store and something tell me, don't get that milk, get that one. Like, it's that simple of why you need to have discernment. That milk could have had something in it. That one didn't. And now, if you would not have listened to your gut, listen to that inner feeling, listen to that God within you, listen to God's voice, you're going to miss out on, and you're going to get the bad milk and make you sick. You know what I'm saying? It's just like that simple of why it's so important to listen to God, not listen to the outsiders. Why it's so important to just not move so much on your anxiety. Yes, we all naturally have anxiety, but don't let it get to you to the point where you're so fearful of what's to come, the fear of the unknown, the control part of it. Because when you operate off of your flesh, that's, like I said, it's demonic, and operating off of that is what make you want to be in control of things. You want to be in control of everything. You want to know exactly how your life is going to plan out. You want to know exactly how every day is going to go. You want to know exactly what's going to happen when I get here. You want to plan everything out. sometimes when you, especially when you on this journey and when you fully surrender to God and have that relationship, and when he really wants you to go through a period in an isolation season where you're learning to depend on no one other than him, when you're going through that, it's going to be truly, truly important to let up the control and just go with the flow. You know how these men be just want you just go with the flow, you know? And even with learning this, like when you learn about God and we learn that God, the men were made in his image, it really, I really see now that men really are made in God's image. They act just like him, like, you know. But some, we ain't gonna really talk about that, but some start to take their authority and take their position and abuse their authority with it, you know, which is of Satan. Wait till I really start talking about this stuff to y'all in these videos, because this stuff is literally all spiritual wickedness. I made this video longer than I wanted to make it, but wow, because that just yeah, is this, we are spiritual beings. Everything about everything is spiritual, like, and I want, anyhow, like I said, cast away your anxieties, do what God told you to do, don't worry about the naysayers, stay focused, do whatever it is, no more procrastination, do whatever it is that God told you to do, no matter how big or how small it is. And in this season, don't tell everybody. You don't need to go to your mom, your dad, your best friend, your boyfriend, well, depending on the circumstance, you might need to consult with your significant other if you're in like a relationship or something like that. But if you in one that God has been telling you, for one, you need to be leaving him, don't be consulting him or her. I'm not even just say, you know, just for guys, whatever, but no matter who you are, if you're with somebody and you feeling like they're not on your team for real, they pulling you away from your vision, they pulling you away from your purpose, they pulling you away from getting closer to God or connecting more with your own self and trying to find out why you're here and trying to, you know, make a next move in your life. If they are pulling you away from that and speaking fear onto you, projecting fear onto you, that's somebody that you don't want to be telling your plans. And even if they do a fake praise, because so many people, y'all, are fake, that you gotta just, in this season, it don't matter who it is, no matter if you think you could trust them or not, you have, this is between you and God. Don't worry, don't tell them all the next plans. Just do, if anything, ask God to send you another confirmation. And 9 times out of 10, he's going to send it. Have your eyes open, your ears open, be very vigilant during this season. Pay attention to the signs and synchronicities that he's confirming for you, maybe for the 13th time that he said, yes, do that. And sometimes we be wanting so many confirmations that we'll miss out on our blessing and miss out on our opportunity to get started on the next step because we're waiting for all these confirmations. You know what God said. Just do it. Just do it. And don't tell nobody. Move in silence, because even if they fake rooting for you in this season, you can't trust nobody. It is between you and God. He wanted to just be between you two. That is it. And if it's between y'all, you don't need no outside validation. Nobody. You don't need praise or criticism. You don't need nobody to do none of that, because they just don't need to know. Depending on how serious of a move it is, if it's like moving to a new state, you might tell your one person, but you don't need to tell everybody until you're there. You gotta really move in silence, because people will start casting their spells, the negative words they say out their mouths, some word curses. They'll start speaking that stuff onto you, and then you'll start feeling like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. Now you holding up your own destiny because of somebody else's fear, who ain't even living in their true destiny. They haven't reached their fullest potential, but you're letting them hold you up from reaching yours just by doing what God told you to do. So don't listen to none of that. This is between you and the Creator. Ooh, and it's funny to say right here, remember your Creator and your you. But we ain't even gonna make the video too long by saying that. But This is between you and your creator. Don't worry about how old you are. Don't worry about none of the naysay, the things that was meant to hold you back from moving on. Do it. Do it. So, until the next time, y'all, I'll see y'all in the next video. Do what God told you to do. Keep it between you and him. Everybody don't need to know all the details, the big details, the minute details. They don't need to know nothing about the whole process. Just keep it real simple with it. I don't know, God told me. I don't know, God told me. They might look at you like you crazy, but it don't matter. It's still God told me, and I'm just doing what God told me to do. So, till next time, deuces.